One of the things I've heard you talk about is you stole an idea from Bill Gates, and you kind of made it your own, this idea of a think day. And I really resonate with that, and I wanted you to share that with our audience, and not only how you do it, but what you derive from it.
Yeah. So the insight here is that in most of our lives, and in modern work culture in particular, there's very little time to think. Everything is sort of stimulus and then immediate response. You get the email and you immediately respond. You get the request, you immediately respond. And it's why we feel like we're on this treadmill, so busy all the time, but not necessarily making progress on things. It's because we do not have space to actually think about things during our day. We're not actually taking the time to zoom out and look at bigger picture, real, meaningful questions in our professional lives, or in our personal lives for that matter. Bill Gates in the 1980s started doing this thing where he would, for a week, go off the grid once a year, and all he would do was like read and think about the biggest picture things facing Microsoft. And he credited it with a lot of the progress that they made, the big leaps forward. I know that I can't take a week off to do things like that. I'm not on the level or at the point in my life where I can do that. But I started carving out a day once a quarter to do that, to go sort of into a different environment and to think about some of the bigger picture things that I'm working on or that I'm doing. And there's question prompts that I share in the book for kind of guiding yourself during a think day process. And the whole idea is to like zoom way out and just start kind of thinking from a bigger picture view on what you're doing, why you're doing it. Is it the right thing? Are there assumptions that you need to question? One of the questions that I think is probably the best one that I share in there is, if you were the main character in a movie of your life, what would the audience be screaming at you to do right now? We've all had this experience. You're like watching a movie or a television show, and you just want to like jump through the screen and grab the main character. Chase the girl to the airport, or don't go down that hallway, whatever the thing is. And you are the main character in the movie of your life, and the audience would be screaming at you something right now, something very, very obvious that you are ignoring. Asking yourself that question, what is that thing that you are choosing to ignore that you need to go and act on, is a really helpful sort of lens to frame up some of the bigger changes you need to make in your life.
Yeah, boy, and I'm going to tell you something, that the hardest part of that exercise is to actually act on it, because that comes with a lot of junk. Mm-hmm. Wow, that is really good. I like that. All right, another thing that I love that you talk about, and boy, this resonates, because if I look back on my personal life and my professional life, the greatest moments, things that I will, hopefully if I'm an old dude and I'm laying on a deathbed and everybody's gathering around being sad, I'm going to be telling this story over and over. I think of those stories. What are the moments, the high moments? All of those came on the backside of really dark moments. That's just my story. I don't know if everybody else resonates with that, but I'm fascinated by how you talk about the dark map. And this is your metaphor. I want you to unpack that for people, because I think it is so encouraging, and I think it's a great model for people to kind of grab onto. Talk about that.
Yeah, this is sort of derived from this, I'm half Indian. There's this idea in ancient Indian culture of Kala Chakra, which is like the wheel of time. It's this idea that life, and in that context, the universe, goes through this endless cycle of creation, destruction, and then rebirth. And you can feel that in your own life, in the sense that all these periods of creation, the like feelings when you're like on top of the world, things are going great, inevitably come to an end. And then you have that period of destruction, the time when like things feel like they're getting torn down, the challenges come. And during those periods of destruction, during that darkness, you find it impossible to see the light. You find it impossible to see how you are possibly going to escape that darkness in that moment. And the thing that I always say to people, and that I had to continue saying to myself during that own period in my own life, was it is always followed by a rebirth. And that rebirth is that blinding, unbelievably beautiful feeling where you can, like it finally clicks and you can feel yourself stepping out of it. And those are those incredible moments. And it always comes. But you have to have faith while you're in the darkness that it is coming and that it is there. The ancient poet Rumi said, the wound is where the light enters you. And that is that same idea, that the darkness is actually where the seeds of light are being sown. The seeds of that rebirth are being sown in the depth of that darkness that you're experiencing.